those words of Maureen Killoran, we turn a bit further now with these words of the Reverend Michael de Vernon Bobblet. May the walls of this house be strong in the face of storms, whether of winds or of words, whether of thunder or tyranny. May the windows of this house be clear to the world's light, whether of dawns or of daring, whether of sunsets or of stillness. May the foundations of this house be firm upon the good earth, whether of soil or of sharing, whether of bedrock or of behavior. May the doors of this house be wide to all that come from afar, whether poems or people, whether songs or strangers. May this house embrace, like our graceful chalice, the flame it cannot confine or limit, as a heart enshrines hope larger than its beating walls. Amen. And please join me in singing our first hymn in Green Book number 202, Children of a Bright Tomorrow by Roger Walt. Hymn number 202. Let us turn now to a time of prayer with these words of Jane Rzepka. This is then followed by our covenant, which you'll find printed in your order of worship and appearing online. But first, these words. I spent some time this weekend with an old friend, a dentist. She is considering buying her own practice, but wonders if she could retain the current patients and attract new ones. She wonders if the office staff would like her, or befriend her too much, or resent her, or desert her. She wonders about bill collecting, spending too much time on crowns and root canals, what she likes, at the expense of oral surgery, which she doesn't. She wonders about being a good wife and mother and all-around person. She's scared. My friend is intelligent, well-organized, energetic, terrific with teeth, but scared. It makes me think we all are. Scared we'll lose the company's big Formica account, Scared we'll miss the time change, scared we're handling the kids' curfew wrong, scared our money will be in all the dumbest places when tax laws change, scared of our failing health, scared of everything falling apart, scared that nobody really loves us, scared of the fragility of all creation. O Spirit of life and love, we aren't the giants we'd like so much to be, and the world can loom so large. When all is quiet, and we are small and the night is dark, may we hear the tender breathing of all who lie awake with us in fear, that together we may gather strength to live with love and kindness and confidence. Amen. And please read with me our covenant. We gather here in sacred fellowship to witness the fullness of our lives and all life, to hold and be held, tell stories and listen, to be renewed and renew the world. We speak with care and patience. We act with gentleness and compassion. We forgive each other and ourselves. In faith that we build beloved community, we renew our covenant today. Amen. So today's reading comes from Margaret Silf's book, 100 Wisdom Stories from Around the World. And this was given to me years upon years ago, just as I was starting my sort of training by a dear colleague. It's entitled, as I said, The Artist. One bright, sunny day, 2 pieces of paper were sunbathing in the midday warmth, enjoying the pleasures of the summertime. One piece of paper was called Snow White, who was pure white and so very proud of its pristine purity. "Look at me," it said to its companion. "Did you ever see such a beautifully white piece of paper?" Snow White's companion was called Pure as the Dawn, who was as well amazingly white and wonderfully free of the slightest stain. The 2 pieces of paper outshone each other in this midday sunlight. Well, in the distance, a figure approached from the horizon. She caught their attention. As they watched, she approached ever closer. "Who can that be?" asked Snow White. "What is she carrying in her arms?" wondered Pure as the Dawn. The figure came closer and closer, until she was only a few yards away from these 2 paper friends. And in her arms she carried a palette and paintbrushes. In her eyes there was a curious, dreamlike light, a love light, but gentle. And in her heart, she carried a dream. "What do you think she wants?" Snow White asked Pure as the Dawn. You don't think she's going to paint on us, do you?" Pure as the Dawn flinched as the words sunk in. "I think that is exactly what she plans to do." "There's no way that I will allow her to paint on me," railed Snow White. "No painter is going to spoil my purity." "But what if she is a master painter?" Pure as the Dawn reflected. "She might create a masterpiece on our pure white emptiness. She might make us into her masterpieces." "But then again," said Snow White, "she might make a complete mess of us. No, I'm not going to take any risks like that. I'm going to stay just as pristine until the day I die." And so it came to be that the artist approached both pieces of paper and asked their permission to paint her dream upon their canvas. Snow White said, "No way," and remained pure white and empty until the day that the wind and the weather finally turned back into pulp. Pure as the dawn said, "Do as you will with me. I will trust you. I will entrust myself to the work of your hands." And the artist turned Pure as the Dawn into a masterpiece, a unique and beautiful representation of that dream that she was carrying in her heart, so that in all the years to come, many, many people would look upon this canvas, and in the depths and beauty, they would rediscover their own lost dreams. Artist, as told by Margaret Sylph. And so you have a chance to share your joys and your sorrows, your trials as well as your triumphs. If you want to share these publicly, please come forward and light a candle. If you wish to speak, come to the microphone so those using the loop system and those who are online will be able to hear you. If you are online, please type into the chat box and we will read your message out. You can, of course, light a candle in silence if you so wish. And as always, if you want to hold your life in your heart and remain seated, know that your presence here is enough. Nothing more is asked of you at this moment, just simply that you are. I was supposed to have a Zoom chat with my family, which we've been trying to do sort of every few months since the pandemic, but it was abruptly sort of postponed / canceled yesterday because my parents were getting a new camper van, which is something that's sort of quite dear. I was going to say significant to them in their sort of in this period of retirement and this time in their lives. They had a gorgeous old vintage one, which was sadly destroyed in a storm a few months ago. So I'm glad that they've been able to sort of pick up from that. And I'm grateful that it was canceled for all the right reasons, as they say.
This one's Candle of Joy. My best friend signed her tenancy agreement, her very first tenancy agreement, 4 years ago yesterday. And she celebrates the day every year because she finally managed to get away from her abusive family and happy with her cat. Otherwise, it's also that I managed to get here at last. And months of being unable to. It's very nice change.
This is a candle from Anne, which is for Dennis, my cousin's husband, who died last Sunday. And for all those joys and sorrows here spoken, and those that remain silently in our hearts. Let us join now in singing our next hymn, again in the Green Book, number 171, What Love Can Do, hymn number 171. Our second reading today is Peter Friedrich's Each New Day, and it concerns, similar to our story, that of the blank canvas. Why is this blank page staring back at me, mocking, like an affliction and fraught with dread? How can it hold such sway, this simple emptiness? Might it instead be a gift left on my doorstep overnight, waiting to be broken open with the dawn? A present eager to emerge, if only I had the sense to hold the paper over a candle flame, its lemon juice message appearing like magic, clear and true. Each new day is like this, pure air, devoid of density, but for the weight of our own invention. Birds do not worry the morning or fret the rising sun. They wait, expectant, until its rays kiss their downy necks. Then, stretching, they turn to face the day and sing. Each New Day by Peter Friedrichs. And let us return to a time of prayer with these words of Richard Gilbert. In the midst of the whirling day, in the hectic rush to be doing, in the frantic pace of life, pause here for a moment. Catch your breath. Relax your body. Loosen your grip on life. Consider that our lives are always unfinished business. Imagine that the picture of our being is never complete. Allow your life to be a work in progress. Do not hurry to mold the masterpiece. Do not rush to finish the picture. Do not be impatient to complete the drawing. From beckoning birth to dawning death, we are in process. And always there is more to be done. Do not let the incompleteness weigh on your spirit. Do not despair that the imperfection marks your everyday. Do not fear that we are still in the making. Let us instead be grateful that the world is still to be created. Let us give thanks that we can be more than we are. Let us celebrate the power of the incomplete. For life is always unfinished business. Amen. And let us enter into this period of silence, this blank canvas upon our souls, for reflection, meditation, contemplation, and personal prayer. We come now to our next hymn, number 148, The Miracle by Malvina Reynolds. Oh, what a piece of work we are, how marvelously wrought, the quick contrivance of the hand, the wonder of our thought. Hymn number 148. My freedom will be so much the greater and more meaningful the more narrowly I limit my field of action and the more I surround myself with obstacles. Whatever diminishes constraint diminishes strength. The more constraints one imposes, the more one frees one's self of the chains that shackle the spirit. Writes Igor Stravinsky in Poetics of Music. It's a curious paradox. We free ourselves by constraining ourselves. The pianist Ron Grotos illustrated it with painting. A blank canvas can be difficult to look at. But once we decide what it is we want to paint, once we constrain ourselves, this limit helps its creation. If we decide to paint a house, for instance, then we begin to imagine something that is house-ish. The difference between the shackles of the spirit and the limitations that Stravinsky writes about are their origins. We can create whatever constraints we want. We shouldn't be too hard on ourselves, though. Of course, the blank page can actually scare us. Or that free time that we might have, where should it go? Or that full wardrobe in our closet, what should I wear? Or the fulfilling occupation, what should I do? Wherever there is openness, there is vulnerability. Just as we feel warmth of the forest leave us behind as we step out into the field. Emptiness and void can scare us. All of us. Being scared does not discriminate on the basis of age. It's just the item of focus that changes. Nor does it discriminate on the basis of experience or skill. Professionals may face the same level of fear as novices, sometimes even more so, as the perceived stakes are higher. We grow scared when we invest in things. We see this with Rev'd's dentist friend that we met in that first prayer. As Rev'd noted, her friend is intelligent, well-organized, and energetic. But she's scared. She's scared because she cares about being a dentist. She cares about her practice and care of her patients, or that personal sense of a job well done, or the well-being of her staff. All of these might be factors in ramping up the pressure and adding to her anxiety. I'd like to talk about a book by John Parkin, but I'm hesitant to name it. I'll just say it's Rev'd without the F. The F, shall I say, is actually fully worded out in the title. It's described as Rev'd, the ultimate spiritual way. Parkin insists that we should say the full name, but if I've managed to keep any sanctity here at the lectern, then I'll refrain from swearing today. Anyway, John Parkin describes this world where people are anxious and scared, where they're under pressure and so forth. People are always searching for meaning amidst the obligations and the routines of life. However, Parkin argues that people's lives in all of this workaday stress are not meaningless. In fact, if it is anything, he argues that our lives are too meaningful. We accumulate matters of concern throughout our lives, both because of our interests and because of our conditioning. But with everything that is important comes a new level of stress and worry. Think of it this way. The word important comes from a Latin word that means to carry. So with everything that you consider meaningful, everything that is important to you, it's one more plate in your arms. And we can only hold on to so many plates before they go crashing down around us. So what are we willing to let go of? To what can we say, F it? That's Parkin's message. By decluttering some of the meaning from our lives, we will appreciate those fewer significant elements all the more. Around the time that I came to the UK, there was a news item about robots being able to play the trumpet. Really, it's quite genuinely a big thing at the time, so bear with me. It seemed it was quite a significant milestone in sort of robotics development, that they would be able to create this thing that could, blow through a trumpet and produce exactly the right notes in exactly the right order, and create what was perceived to be a perfect performance. I remember the week after that story came out, I was playing piano at a church, and there was a man who was quite sort of supportive of me and my endeavors, because in a few months' time I would be over here. And he said, "I don't want robots playing a perfect performance. I want you to make mistakes. I want to know you're human." And shall I say, I don't think at any point in my life had the sense of my imperfections and the sort of worthiness of my mistakes been as emboldened at that moment, at least in a positive way. I want you to make mistakes. And so once we free ourselves from the ideal that we expect, and instead accept the reality within ourselves, the reality of our mistakes, our imperfection, then we have this freeing ability to engage with the world. Not the world as we may want or expect or sometimes try to demand it to be, but the world as it is. We are in that world. If we're going to be generous with love and forgiveness for the challenges and the difficulties in this world, we must be prepared to give ourselves that same measure. As the counselor Carl Rogers wrote, "What I am is good enough if I would only be it openly." I am good enough if I would only be it openly. Rogers is insisting that if we proclaim our imperfections, we will find a kindred spirit in the universe. And it's really only when we accept ourselves as we are that we can start to achieve our goals. For many of us have some list of goals, written or thought clear or ambiguous. I have pages of ideas which will easily fill more than a lifetime. And so many I have not started because of that thought that it needs to be perfect. So long as I hold on to that thought, so long as it is another plate to hold, I will not set out to work on these ideas. And they just keep accumulating, plate after plate after plate. If, however, I recall the words of Julia Cameron, one of my favorite quotes, that a job worth doing is worth doing poorly, then I will check my ego. I will accept that I have faults just like the rest of the world, and I can get on with these tasks. And luckily, I don't have to worry about a perfect ending because, as I said, there are too many jobs to be done for one lifetime. Thank goodness for this. Richard Gilbert pointed out that we will always have unfinished business. And perhaps the most moving illustration of this, at least for me, is a prayer by Kelly Weissman Asbruth Jackson. Dear great lathe of heaven, O foundry of souls, you churning, burning cosmos, which has wrought me on the infinite loom of your celestial body, spinning stars and indifferent stones, hear my prayer. Do not curse me to perish with all my dreams fulfilled. Do not afflict me with a vision so narrow and a heart so small that all my greatest hopes could be accomplished within a single lifetime. Rather, bless me with an unquiet spirit. Anoint me with impertinent oils. Grant me dreams so great and numerous that I might spend the fullness of my days to realize them, and have ample remaining to leave to my inheritors. Holy gyre that bore me and must one day take me home, allow me the mercy to depart this life with unfinished business. It is difficult for some of us to accept this. The imperfection of the world, the imperfection of ourselves. But imperfect does not mean unbeautiful. Imperfect does not mean unmarvelous. It does not mean unaccomplished. It does not mean unachieving. It only means what it is: imperfect, human. The folk singer Malvina Reynolds captured this in our earlier hymn. What a piece of work we are, How marvelously wrought! The quick contrivance of the hand, the wonder of our thought. Though imperfect, we are still phenomenal. We can make a world of light out of the common clay. We are already splendid. To quote Carl Rogers again, I'm not perfect, but I'm enough. Amen. A few notices before we sing our final hymn. If you're new here, we're grateful for your presence. You hopefully will pick up a card explaining our services, and we have as well a mailing list, so please do fill in the back if you're interested in being added to that. And if anyone needs sort of to have a pastoral conversation or to speak with me, you can do so after the service. You can also write to minister@crossstreetchapel.org.uk. Please volunteer. We're always looking for people to give readings, to help the IT. How's the IT been today, Carl? Okay. that's great. You would know. People will let you know if things aren't working. So thank you. And so we're always grateful to have volunteers, readings as well, and greeting. Do we have anyone to help with the tea and coffee today? Thank you, Alvin. And we're also grateful for any contributions. You can donate online by going to justgiving.com/crossstreetchapelmanchester. You can email me if you wish to set up a standing order, and we have a retiring collection here in person. And if it's your first time visiting, your presence is a gift enough to us, so we're not expecting anything financial from people who are visiting. As you might have intimated, there's tea and coffee after the service in our community hall, the Percival Suite. You finally have a number of notices on the back of your order of worship about upcoming events. The first is a recital this Friday featuring Ida Pellacciole on piano. Ida's performed for us a number of times. She's absolutely spectacular. Our recitals are becoming really popular at the moment, so please do book. You can book online. The details are available on this handout sheet, which I'll make available. That's Friday the 7th of March at 1 p.m. It's free to attend, but we are grateful for contributions which go to the artists to recognize their time, talent, and energy. Then on the 15th of March, there's an added event. It went out on the mailing list last night. We have, for those who've been here for at least a few weeks, will know that the National EC, the sort of one of the governing people who observe the sort of the denomination across the whole country, are coming the weekend of the 15th and the 16th. They're using the chapel for some of their business time, but they're also going to be involved in a few of our activities. So on the 15th, Saturday, at 1:30, we're going to be holding a memorial service in Greengate in Salford. It's just about a 10-minute walk from here. It's the site of a former Bible Christian chapel, which is quite significant in Salford's history, firstly for the first minister there, the Reverend Cowherd. Ironically enough, because of his name, he was very keen on vegetarianism. And then the second minister they had, Joseph Brotherton, was the first MP for Salford. So please do join us for that. The EC and the GA president will be with us then too. So that's Saturday the 15th at 1:30. You can either meet us there or you can come here beforehand. We'll probably be leaving, I'd say, about 1:15. And then on the 16th is our annual general meeting. We have our service at 10:45, followed by a bring and share meal. Please do sign up if you haven't yet, certainly to let us know any dietary requirements you might have. If you are interested in joining our committee, please do sign up for that. And then the only other two sort of quick notices is on the 28th, we have our regular Friday lunchtime recital, again at 1 p.m., featuring Lorena Shablevich-Ute. And then on the 5th of April, we are, as a congregation, going to the Gaskell House to have a tour and to enjoy their teas and scones, which is part of the tour. Tickets for that are £15. If you're in sort of financial need, please speak with me, because the committee has set aside funds to make sure that everyone who wants to be able to go can go. So that's the 5th of April at 2:30. Are there any announcements or notices I may have forgotten? Yes, Tria.
I have a baby gate. I kind of found in the possessions of the gentleman's executor.
Right.
I have no use for it, but I don't know if anybody else in the congregation might.
Thank you. So one baby gate going once, twice. Okay. Thank you, Tria. It might be something the chapel might be interested in using or borrowing. Actually, there was one thing I forgot, which is members of the chapel. We're having EC elections. This is again sort of returning to the national front. So there are ballot papers being distributed if you're a member of the chapel. So is that? I think all our announcements. So our final hymn is printed in your order of worship. We limit not the truth of God to our poor reach of mind. Our final hymn. Thank you, Aaron, for that fantastic and moving music. Thank you, Sonia, for these beautiful flowers and for helping to set up and greet. Thank you, Carl, for the IT. I'm sure it's gone absolutely spectacular. And thank you, Alvin, for the tea and coffee we're about to enjoy. And thank you to everyone for creating and sharing worship today. We close with these words of Rabindranath Tagore. The same stream of life that runs through my veins night and day runs through the world and dances in rhythmic measures. It is the same life that shoots in joy through the dust of the earth in numberless blades of grass and breaks into tumultuous waves of leaves and flowers. It is the same life that is rocked in the ocean cradle of birth and death, in ebb and in flow. I feel my limbs are made glorious by the touch of this world of life, and my pride is from the life throb of ages dancing in my blood this moment. Amen.
before, to be honest. No. Oh, right, sorry. A lot of it's really lovely. It's kind of like show kind of show content. It's quite refreshing.